17th. Our guest today, Kasey King Maine.
Hi.
What? September 17th. Hi. Welcome to Cahoots Live again.
Hi.
This time you can hear me. Our guest is Kasey. Hi. Welcome to Cahoots Live again. Kasey, what is it that you do for a living?
Well, a couple of things. I am the co-owner of Pick Studio in Kincardine and Listowel.
Who's you co-own that with?
This guy.
Some doofus. Who knows?
And I also am a makeup artist. I travel around to people's homes and do weddings and proms and special events. And
You do some workshops and stuff.
I teach classes, do workshops, that kind of thing.
And you've got a YouTube channel?
And I have a YouTube channel now. It has like 5 whole videos on it.
Wait,
Super exciting.
How do they find that? Let's plug that right up front.
It's just Kasey King on YouTube.
That's exciting. So what got you into doing makeup?
I guess I started probably in midway through high school. Actually, one of my best friends, her name is Nikki Berry. She was really into makeup and started coming to school with all these like fancy brands like MAC, and I was so intrigued by it. My mom owns a spa as well, so I was kind of around it. I took lessons. When I first started wanting to wear makeup, she put me in a lesson so that I would wear it properly. So that really piqued my interest, and then when I started learning about all these new brands and products that were out there, then I started getting really interested in building my own collection. Then I decided to go to school for it, so I did the School of Makeup Art in Toronto. It was a 6-month program where I did 3 months of beauty and fashion makeup and 3 months of special effects makeup, and then I got my college diploma out of that, and then started working.
I love it. The special effects makeup is super cool too. I don't know if you see any pictures of that, like making people look like they got burned.
At your wedding, by the way, congratulations.
Thank you.
It's the first time I've said it on air. So I've said it in person, but yeah, at your wedding, there were some pictures that your mom had put together that slideshow, and there's pictures of your special effects makeup. Did you do the Grinch?
Yes, yeah. So that was it's called prosthetic pieces. So when they film movies like The Grinch or The Terminator or whatever, they actually it's quite a long process, but all the masks are custom made. So I had a friend come in and I used him as a model and custom made the Grinch mask to his face, and it took about 6 weeks from start to finish.
How did you do that? Like, how did you make the mask?
So you start out by taking a mold of the person's face using like alginate, and then it hardens. You pour in a clay mixture, or a cement mixture, I guess, and then you have a mold of the person's face, and you put your clay on it, and then you mold, like you use little instruments and stuff, and you mold what you want the mask to look like, and then you make this other weird concoction that you pour in between your positive and your negative, and it molds to the shape that you've created with the clay, and you have to put it in a kiln. And the mixture that you're making, it's almost like a foam, is like very, very specific. It's like you use a KitchenAid, and it has to go turning to the right for 3.5 minutes, and then turning to the left for 2 minutes and 20 seconds. It's like so specific.
Yeah.
And then you can make a bunch of them all at once, and then you paint it up and add the hair and all that, and then you glue it onto their face and blend it into their skin.
And then when they make gestures and facial expressions, it's like kind of
with
amplified with the mask almost.
And mine didn't have a chin. Mine just went, like my Grinch mask just went like this, so he could still move his mouth and make expressions and speak and everything as well.
The only time I've ever been put into like professional makeup was when at comedy school. They put me into a Gandalf beard.
That's
Picture
cool.
me on Facebook with a Gandalf beard.
What do they call? It's called like wig knotting or something. When they're doing that looked like brutal. Actually, I would hate to do that.
It was a long process. It's literally one hair at a time. So you get this little mesh piece and like almost like a screen for a window, but the holes are a lot smaller, and you knot in one hair at a time. So we made, I made a little soul patch that came down, and it took 3 weeks.
Imagine doing a Gandalf beard,
this big.
A Gandalf beard.
I guess
how long that would
the
take.
better you get, that was my first time ever trying it, so the better you get, the faster you get.
Yeah.
Well, the ladies who came in were like professional makeup and like hair and makeup, so they used these beards on movies, like they had used them on television before, so I was like, wearing somebody else's TV beard that they had made for them.
That's cool.
Suited to Gandalf, but yeah. That's the only time I've ever really experienced that. Is that something do you enjoy the special effects side of things?
I do. I like it. I haven't done very much with it. To be honest, like the products that you use to build your kit are like super expensive. Also where we live, there's just not a huge market for it besides Halloween. My passion really lies though with the beauty and fashion and making people feel and look beautiful for special events and things. That's where I get the most excitement.
And you're definitely passionate about it because I remember one of the first conversations I had with you after I started working here, we all gone out for beers and like we talked about makeup for like 45 minutes.
Sorry about that.
The thing is, like, if someone's passionate about something, I could talk about makeup as long as you're excited. I'm like, yeah, cool, this is really interesting. But like, so where do you? Maybe this might be an obvious question, but I'm a dude, so where do you get your makeup?
Different places. Something that I really like to do is experiment and try new products all the time, sort of make my own reviews on things. So you can get, like, there's more high-end makeup at places like MAC and Sephora is my homeland. MAC and Sephora, and then there's like drugstore makeup, which is like Walmart and Shoppers Drug Mart. So I do kind of have a mix. I do use mostly on clients and things, makeup from Sephora and MAC, but at home, I like experimenting with drugstore makeup because they do have some good stuff out there that's just as good as the high-end makeup, just a lot cheaper. But I get 40% off at MAC with a pro discount, so I have a lot of MAC stuff.
That's amazing. There's no other really stores where there's like, yeah, here, like you buy, like you like buying the stuff. Here, have it for less money.
I guess the idea is that they hope if you're a professional makeup artist, then you'll stock your kit with all those products.
And then promote them to your
out and
customers.
use them on people, and then they're going to want it, right? Like if
Yeah.
I'm doing a bride's makeup and they say, you know what, this lipstick's actually really gorgeous on you, chances are, and they get excited about it and they like it too, and they ask me what color it is, and they go out and pick one up too. So it in the end only benefits them. I get it.
Yeah.
So is it challenging when you go and say you have a client for a wedding that doesn't typically wear makeup and maybe they have, is that challenging first of all?
It's not, I don't really know how to explain that. I wouldn't call it a challenge. It's just you have to just go about things a different way. And that is the case most of the time. People don't wear a lot of makeup or they don't know what they're doing. That's why they hire you in the first place, right? I mean, there's people that wear it and they're fine. They're like, go for it, do whatever you want. And then there's most people just really want things light and natural. And so you just kind of have to go about it a different way. You're not using as much product. You're using a lot lighter shades on the eyes. You maybe skip steps like eyeliner and false lashes and things like that. You want people to feel comfortable and you don't want them to look in the mirror and go, whoa. Oh, I'm wearing a lot of makeup, and they're not comfortable with that. So it's all just about gauging people's comfort level, which I guess is more the challenge because for me, like, this is how I do my makeup every day, which to most people's like, whoa, who wears that much makeup on a daily basis? So they, like, as though I'm comfortable with this, they're not. So you kind of have to take it down a notch. And I tend to just start out really lightly, have them look at it, see what they think, and then if they want to go a little bit more, then you do the next step, and then you do the next step, and you just kind of build. So instead of just going in right away with
and sometimes when somebody's looking at themselves in the mirror and they might think that looks like too much makeup, that doesn't translate as too much makeup in a photo shoot.
Well, and that's the thing too, the point that you always have to get across as well is, yeah, you might feel like you're wearing a lot just because you're not used to it too. But when you photograph or let's say you're getting married and you're at the front of the altar and all your guests are back, it doesn't look like a lot of makeup. And if you're not wearing, more than you normally would, nobody's going to see it, and you want it to be special. You want it to look like special occasion makeup. So, but yeah, it's not as heavy when people are further back from you, and in photographs as well. It comes across a lot nicer.
Now, what was it like? Because I did the wedding video for Pat and Kasey. I was there all day, just sort of shooting things, and I got to watch you get your makeup done. What was that like to have on a day like that to have someone else doing your makeup?
Jen Bartel was the one that did it, so she's fantastic, and I really did trust her. I did have a trial beforehand, which kind of like calmed me down, but I was so nervous at first. Like, I have not had my makeup done since my prom in grade 12 when I got it done at MAC. So looking at like 6 years since I've had somebody else do my makeup. So especially for a big occasion like that, I was so nervous, but I really did trust her. And she did a fantastic job, and I was really happy with everything. I was probably a more difficult client because I was like guiding her through the things that I was looking for and the things that I wanted, where most clients wouldn't do that because most people don't know, right? So I think she was probably a little bit nervous too, like that's a lot of pressure. And then with one of my bridesmaids being Patrick's sister, and she's also a makeup artist. And then my best friend, she's a makeup enthusiast and has more makeup than Sephora. Like that was, I could see that would be pretty intimidating. So she did a fantastic job, but yeah, I was a little bit anxious.
One last question before you go, because I know you got to leave at 11. You guys are starting production on a series about love and relationships.
Yeah.
What made you guys want to do that?
I think that was my idea at first.
Yeah, I think it just probably, like for us, I think it came from like being a newlywed couple. People are always offering you advice, especially before the wedding. Like, this is what you got to do to make your date perfect.
Which was happily received, by the way.
It was awesome, and people are always offering advice. So we're like, wouldn't it be cool to just have this on camera and share it with everyone? Like, and learn ourselves as well.
Do you have anyone lined up for that yet?
We have
know that since I'm.
Yeah, we have the next 10 Sundays. We're going and we're having some dinner dates with a variety of different couples.
We're trying to get like different kinds of couples so that you can see like how different relationships work and how they make it work and what their struggles are. And I think it will really keep things interesting too. I
think so too. Yeah, because there's no right way to do a relationship.
Exactly.
It's just what way works for that particular couple, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And I'm sure we'll find like a lot of common factors too, right? Like you could have 10 different kinds of couples, and then the reason that they make things work, I have a feeling it'll be pretty similar throughout all the different couples. So it'll be kind of interesting.
So when we're talking about different types of couples, we have there's a lovely couple that's been married for like 40 years. We have some interracial couples that are interested in participating. Just all different walks of life, all different ages.
Gay couples and open marriages,
and swingers and all that. And
I think that's going to be really fascinating. Like, I'm really looking forward to to producing on that, like, and just watching that come together, because I think it's going to be so interesting to see how. Because I can't really. It's the cool thing about making something like this is we don't know how it's going to turn out.
Yeah, we don't know what we're getting into, but in the meantime, we're going to have lots of lovely dinners. Yeah.
All right, well, Kasey, we'll let you go so you can get on the road, but thank you for coming out.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Well.
Have to do your makeup sometime.
Do a little cross promo for our YouTube channels, maybe.
We'll do some collaborating.
Yes.
Do you guys want to keep rolling, and I can tell you guys about my trip down to Texas?
Yeah, let's do it.
We're on the air.
Sure.
Great, bye.
Oh yeah, we gotta unmic Kasey's mic.
Okay.
We'll turn the mic off. That gives us some weird.
I did already.
That's okay. All right. Here we are.
You can apologize for the beer.
It's gonna pop again in a second, you guys.
Turn on your producer cam.
Here we go. Pop, and there's Dylan's new mic.
There we go.
All right,
Thanks,
have
Kasey.
a lovely day, Cassandra. I just told everybody your name was Cassandra. And her middle name. Okay.
All right.
Let's talk about your trip. Now I get to ask you questions.
Yeah.
How was your trip?
It was interesting. So for anyone who doesn't know me personally, I was just down. My grandparents they live down in Texas, in close to Beaumont, in a town called Vidor. Can you hear me? Okay. Sorry, that was probably, if that was on, you all just heard what it sounds like inside of my shirt. But yeah, they live in Vidor, Texas, and they are kind of right. They're not in an area that usually floods, but they got flooded. So me and my dad went down there kind of last minute. Luckily, I work for such lovely people as Pat and Kasey that they let me take off and go down there and take care of my family. But we went down and just cleaned up a little bit.
The place mostly evacuated, or like what was?
So yeah, right there in Vidor, a lot of people were evacuated. Basically, if your house was in that flood area, I mean, I don't know exactly when my grandparents got out, but eventually they didn't end up having to be evacuated. Like no one came and took them out of their house. They got to drive out on their own. But if they had stayed for maybe another couple of hours because of the way the water was coming in, they would have had to be taken out on a boat. Yeah.
So what type of work did you do while you were down there for relief?
Well, we were just working on my grandparents' house while we were there, so it was just tearing the whole house apart.
Yeah.
Just like tearing up the floors and the walls because like the water had been in there for probably, I don't know how many days before it went down, but it had been in there for a while, so it had sort of seeped up and wicked up into the walls. So it was.
I hope insurance covers that.
It depends because a lot of people down there don't have flood insurance, right? They have home insurance, homeowners insurance, but they don't have flood insurance.
And that's a specific type of insurance. So,
Yeah.
That'd be like millions in damages, billions.
Well, and that's one of the problems that like the federal government is dealing with right now is they're providing relief through FEMA, right?
Yeah.
But what they're offering is a loan, a personal loan, or if you make over a certain amount, they'll offer you a small business loan.
Oh, I see.
So with a higher interest rate, obviously, right?
Yeah.
So people like FEMA is coming in and doing a lot to help out. Like the federal government is helping. There's military convoys everywhere, just going to different areas to provide relief. There was so basically what we had to do was tear everything out of the house and put it on the street. So like all the furniture, anything that was wet and ready to be thrown out, we just took it and put it on the side of the street. Now, how long it'll take for FEMA to actually come by and collect all that is who knows. But it was it's hard to say exactly how everyone will get covered there because I met a lady at the laundromat when I was there. Because I had like a bunch of quarters left over. I'm like, I'm going back to Canada. Here, just take these. Because she was like, where do you get quarters around here? I'm like, here. Take these. And so we started talking, and she had just moved to Texas from Arizona 20 days before the flood. And like her house had 6 feet of water in it, like everything destroyed. Like, and with someone like that, like you got to imagine she's already got a loan. She just bought a house.
No kidding, that's brutal. Poor lady.
Like how do you recover from that? It's
were people, what was the general vibe like of the people that were there? Were they motivated to get things just moving again, or was it pretty devastating?
Well, depends on who you talk to. Everyone's so hospitable down there, and that's sort of counter to a lot of what you imagine about the South, but Southern hospitality is a real thing. People really do take care of each other down there.
Yeah.
So there's people coming in and out helping at the house all day, and that's what was happening everywhere. People would get off work and they'd go and they'd help the people that they know clean out their houses and tear things up. So
so the community's coming together to support each other, and that's
absolutely
great.
Even at the laundromat, everyone in there was just chatting about what happened to them, and by the end of it, I was leaving, and the lady was like, we were talking about tattoos and and just having a conversation, right? Like everyone's very hospitable, right? And they are the South has its problems, I grant that, but they're very, very strong, and they do take care of each other. So there's a really great mentality down there. As much as it is a feeling of devastation, it was tough driving home sometimes and driving by people who had their entire lives lost in the flood. Like everything they owned was gone, right? Like I saw my grandma throwing out documents that she's had since she was a little girl.
And family photos and oh, that's so sad.
Yeah, that's the thing. You don't really think about what it does because my dad kept saying this while we were down there, but he said, like, I'd rather watch my house go up in flames than have it flood, because at the end of a flood, you have to go through and you have to tear this up. You have to try and recover, right? And you have to look at, I mean, there's closure to it, I suppose, taking all your stuff out, but it was tough, man. Like, I had days where I was like I was physically exhausted from, like, working all day, but then also just mentally exhausted from, like, you know, it's a bizarre thing to see. I'd never really seen a place like that had gone through that, and people were back to work. Like there's power out in some places, limited menu at restaurants and stuff because they couldn't wash dishes.
So where are people living if their houses are all
hotels? A lot of them at other family members who didn't get flooded, because who got flooded was really kind of up in the air. It really depended on where the water decided to flow.
Right.
Because my grandparents had never been flooded to that degree, right?
Yeah.
So it was kind of.
Are they staying at a hotel?
They were for a while, yeah. I think they're at my uncle's place now, but like they were crazy. You know,
Okay.
displaced, and a lot of people were just displaced. It was like, it was impossible for us to find a hotel in the area of Texas. We were in East Texas, so we just had to go across the border to Louisiana. But yeah, you can't find a hotel anywhere. But yeah, it was a harrowing experience, and hopefully one that if you do have the opportunity to provide any relief to anyone, I hope that you'll take it, because it really did. Just even going down there and helping as long as I did, like, I'm not the best worker, but just even having an extra set of hands, like, everything is needed. Like, anything that you can help with is needed. So if you have the means to do it, by all means. At their end, I'm sure after Irma, I'm sure they're going to need it in Florida too. So
Absolutely.
yeah. Anyways, let's. Is there anything we want to talk about before we wrap? Anything that we have coming down the pipe?
We can talk about we could talk about your series, or should we hang on to that?
Well, let's maybe we can have some of our guests on from that show, and we can talk about what we're working on there. But let's close by saying, what
about a call out for the Maker series?
Yeah, okay. Yeah, let's talk. So we are starting production on a series talking about people who make things. It's gonna be like a short series, like a season of episodes. And we are looking for people who have cool and interesting things happening in their garage that want to show us. We're already talking to Ryan Dewsbury, who took us up in the plane. If you saw that video, we're talking to him. He does a lot of 3D printing, and I'm going to meet with him hopefully this week if we can find some time and find out what he's working on. But he does a lot of 3D printing. In fact, if you go to his YouTube channel, which I think we linked to in that video, you can see he's got some videos where he shows some of the stuff that he's prototyped and printed there. Cool. So we're working on that. We're also working on some music stuff that we're really excited about. We've been doing some test shoots for that.
Yeah, if there's any artists that are looking to perform a song somewhere interesting, that's the kind of thing that we're shooting right now. So if reach out to us if you have any ideas.
Yeah. If you have a spot in Kincardine and you're like, especially if you're a musician and you love this town and you've got a spot that you're like, oh, this would be really cool to do a video here. If you've had this video in your mind for a long time, I know there's a few people we've talked to who have been. It's always impossible to get schedules, especially for people who aren't right in Kincardine. But if you have talked to us, we'll probably be reaching out to you again soon to do that. Also, are you still trying to get in contact with people for your relationship series?
We already have our first 2 seasons booked.
Okay.
So we will be, but not yet.
All right. So we've got those coming up, something to look forward to. If you enjoyed our old format, the Cahoots cast that we were doing before, we are starting a new one. I don't want to show our hand on that one just yet, but we'll be going back to something similar to our old format for that show. And that'll be an audio podcast and potentially also like a Google Hangouts live.
It's safe to say we got a lot of cool shit coming down the tube.
We do, and I'm really excited. I feel like this week, now that we're all back to work, and get everything going here, I think you're gonna see a lot of stuff started coming out. So keep your eyes peeled.
And we want you guys to participate. Like if you guys have ideas for even ways that you can contribute to our efforts, message, and then we just want to.
Because we got 3 messages last week from people who are just
There's lots
inquiring about stuff.
It's really cool to see everything kind of coming together.
And those always we that's one of my most the thing that makes me happiest is when someone messages us and says, I have this idea for a thing that I want to do. Can we work together on it? Because that's in case you hadn't gathered from the name, that's what we're going for.
Yeah.
We want to be in cahoots with you. We want to be working together as a community of artists. So if you and by artists I mean creators, people who make things. If you're a bowman who sharpens his own arrows and makes those, or her own arrows,
or a chef, maybe
2017.
You made a cool meal or something. Maybe you've got a specialty.
Yeah. So and I mean, if you've watched the video that plays at the top of this, that was the intent of that. I mean, of course, it ended up being a blooper reel. But we're just trying to get all of you together. And I think this year we've got a lot of cool stuff coming down the pipe that is going to really show you what we wanted to do for our community with this stuff. I mean, hopefully you already.
And so get involved.
Yeah.
Join up with us.
All right. Well, thank you for watching. I think that'll probably conclude the show. Our sponsors, since we didn't have the card up front today, are GemWeb, web design. Bob, what do you do at GemWeb?
Internet marketing, web development, lots of things to help you reach the people that you need to for your business.
And if you, they can't see, I guess our website isn't live yet, so they
Not
can't.
yet.
But we are partnered with them to do that as well. And Pick Studio.
Here we are.
I mean, in case you're probably doing some window shopping while you watch the show.
Yeah.
That's all stuff you can buy right there behind us. So we also, though, here, well, Patrick, you take this one.
Sure. So we at Pick Studio offer just a different variety of arts-based programs. So with Cahoots, we're kind of trying to broadcast people that are already established artists in their own right. But at Pick Studio, we sort of give you a shoe into whether you want to learn music or art. We have art classes. We do yoga classes. We have some dance classes. Kasey teaches makeup, who is our guest earlier, my wife.
She also just waved at us on Facebook.
Oh, did she? Okay. Hello, Kasey. And what else do we do? We have a magician, JP Magic, comes up every so often to teach the art of illusion. So
I teach people how to do goofs and
Dylan
chuckles.
teaches comedy. So we got all different kinds of classes to kind of get people started on their artistic journey. And then, that's what we do.
And also, if you're interested in sponsoring the show, we are open to putting your sponsorship here in this space right here that you're watching right now. Instead of me talking, I could be talking about what you do. So give us a call, send us a message, let us know. All right?
Okay, signing off.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Enjoy the show. Enjoy.
Wait, and